Every Friday at exactly 6:15 p.m., the richest man in the city sits alone in a rundown diner and orders two meals. He eats one. The other grows cold across from him, untouched, like he's waiting for a ghost. Nobody dares ask why. Nobody except the homeless woman who stumbles in from the rain one night and breaks the silence with a single question that changes everything. This is a story about grief, promises, and the strangers who become family when you least expect it. Stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and decades of grease that no amount of scrubbing could ever remove. It sat on the corner of 5th and Maple, wedged between a pawn shop with bars on the windows and a laundromat that had been closed for 3 years. The neon sign outside flickered. Mel's Diner. The apostrophe had burned out sometime in the 90s, and nobody bothered to fix it. Adrian Vale pushed through the glass door at 6:15 p.m. on a Friday, same as he did every week. The bell above the door gave its tired jingle. 3 people sat scattered across the booths, an old man reading yesterday's newspaper, a trucker hunched over a plate of meatloaf, and a teenage waitress scrolling through her phone behind the counter. Nobody looked up when Adrian walked in. Not anymore. He was tall, lean in that way that came from forgetting to eat rather than working out. His suit was expensive. You could tell by the way it fit his shoulders, the subtle sheen of the fabric, but he wore it like armor that didn't quite protect him from anything that mattered. Dark hair, a few grays starting at the temples. 32 years old, and he looked 40 on bad days. "Evening, Mr. Vale," the waitress said without glancing up from her screen. Her name tag read Brittany, but everyone called her Brit. "Evening." He slid into the booth by the window. Always the same booth. The vinyl seat was cracked in 3 places, patched with duct tape that had gone gray and peeling. Outside, rain started to tap against the glass, soft at first, then harder. Brit appeared with her notepad, though she didn't really need it. "The usual?" "Please." She scribbled something, probably a doodle, and walked off. Adrian folded his hands on the table and stared out the window at the street. A city bus rolled past, half empty. A man in a stained jacket pushed a shopping cart full of cans. The streetlight on the corner buzzed and flickered like it was trying to decide whether to stay on. This part of town didn't know what to do with someone like Adrian Vale. His name appeared in the business section of the paper, occasionally on the society pages when he couldn't avoid some charity gala. Vale Industries, tech patents, real estate. The kind of money that meant he could buy this entire block without checking his account balance. But here he was, every Friday, in a place where the coffee cost $1 and tasted like regret. Brit returned with 2 plates. Chicken parmesan with a side of fries and green beans that came from a can. She set one plate in front of Adrian and the other across from him, at the empty seat. "Need anything else?" "No, thank you." She left. Adrian picked up his fork and started eating, mechanical, barely tasting it. Across from him, the second meal sat untouched. Steam rose from the plate for a few minutes, then stopped. The cheese on the chicken began to congeal. The fries went limp. He ate about half of what was in front of him, then set his fork down and pushed the plate away. He'd lost his appetite somewhere around the 3rd bite, same as always. He left 2 20s on the table, way too much for 2 diner meals, and stood to leave. The rain had picked up. He could hear it hammering the roof. That's when the door opened and she stumbled in. She was soaked, hair plastered to her face, jacket dripping onto the floor, skinny in a way that had nothing to do with fashion. 30, maybe, though the kind of life she'd been living made it hard to tell. Her jeans were stained and torn at the knee, not the designer kind of torn. Her sneakers squelched with every step. Britt looked up from her phone, frowning. The cook, a heavy guy named Lou, peered out from the kitchen window. The woman stood just inside the door, shivering, looking around like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be there. Her eyes landed on Adrian, still standing by his booth, then flicked to the untouched plate of food. "You gonna eat that?" she asked. Her voice was rough, like she'd spent the last few hours shouting or crying or both. Adrian blinked. In the 2 years he'd been coming here, no one had ever asked him that question. No one had ever even mentioned the second plate. "No," he said. "Can I?" He hesitated. Something in her face, desperation maybe, but also a kind of pride that was barely holding on, made him nod. "Go ahead." She crossed to the booth in 4 quick steps and slid into the seat across from him. She didn't wait. She picked up the fork and started eating like she hadn't seen food in days. Maybe she hadn't. Adrian stood there, caught between leaving and staying. He should leave. He always left. But something kept his feet planted to the sticky linoleum floor. The woman ate fast, hunched over the plate like someone might take it from her. She didn't look at him, didn't say thank you, just ate. Britt appeared at Adrian's elbow. "Everything okay, Mr. Vale?" "Fine," he said, though he wasn't sure that was true. He sat back down. The woman glanced up, fork paused halfway to her mouth. "You don't have to stay." "I know." She went back to eating. Adrian watched the rain run down the window. The silence between them stretched out, not comfortable but not hostile either. Just 2 people sitting across from each other in a diner that smelled like old coffee. She finished the chicken, the fries, even the green beans. Then she set the fork down and wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. She looked at him for the first time, really looked at him. "Who are you still waiting for?" The question hit him harder than it should have. His throat tightened. He opened his mouth and nothing came out. She didn't push. She just sat there. The stranger who'd blown in from the rain and waited. "My wife," he finally said. The words felt like broken glass. "She's dead." The woman nodded slowly. "No, I'm sorry. No, that's terrible." Just a nod, like she understood something about loss that didn't need explaining. "How long?" 2 years, almost. "And you've been doing this every week?" "Yes." "Why?" He looked down at his hands. They were shaking slightly. He pressed them flat against the table. "I promised her. We used to come here every Friday. She loved this place. I don't know why. The food's terrible." The corner of the woman's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "It's not that bad." "You were starving." Fair point. Another silence. The cook flipped something on the grill. The trucker paid his bill and left. The old man turned a page in his newspaper. "I'm Mara," the woman said. "Adrian." "I know, I've seen your picture, in the paper." He wasn't surprised. His face had been all over the business section when Elena died. Tech mogul's wife dies in car accident. Adrian Vale left to raise daughter alone. The headlines had been brutal. The obituaries worse. "You live around here?" he asked. Mara's expression closed off. Around, which meant she didn't. Which meant she was living on the streets or in a shelter or in her car if she had one. "You come here often?" She was trying to change the subject. "Every Friday." "And you always order 2 meals?" "Yes." "That's a lot of wasted food." "I know." She leaned back in the seat, studying him. "You really loved her." It wasn't a question, but he answered anyway. "More than anything." "Except your kid." He looked up sharply. "How did you—" "The papers. They mentioned a daughter, Lily, right?" "Right." "How old?" 6. Mara nodded. She looked out the window at the rain. "That's a hard age to lose your mom." "Any age is hard." "True." They sat there. The rain didn't let up. Britt refilled coffee cups for the old man. Lou scraped the grill clean. The clock on the wall ticked forward. Finally, Mara stood. "Thanks for the meal." "You're welcome." She headed for the door, then stopped and turned back. "Will you be here next Friday?" He didn't know why he said it. "Yes." "Maybe I'll see you." "Maybe." She pulled her jacket tighter and walked out into the rain. Adrian watched her disappear into the dark, then left his usual tip and headed home. Passant. The house was too big. It had always been too big, even when Elena was alive. 14 rooms, 6 bathrooms, a kitchen that could feed 20 people, a backyard with a pool they never used. It sat in the hills overlooking the city, behind a gate and a long driveway lined with trees that cost more than most people's cars. Adrian pulled through the gate and parked in the circular drive. The house was dark, except for the lights in Lily's room on the 2nd floor. He let himself in. The foyer was marble and echoes. His footsteps sounded too loud. "Daddy?" Lily appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, pink ones with unicorns. Her dark hair, Elena's hair, was tangled from where she'd been lying down. "Hey, sweetheart, you should be asleep." "I was waiting for you." "I'm sorry I'm late." She ran down the stairs and he caught her, lifting her into his arms. She was getting too big for this, but he held on anyway. "Did you go to the diner?" she asked. "I did." "Did you order Mommy's favorite?" "I always do." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I miss her." His chest tightened. "I know, baby. Me too." He carried her upstairs and tucked her back into bed. She had Elena's eyes. That was the hardest part. Every time she looked at him, he saw his wife staring back. "Tell me a story," Lily said. "About what?" "About Mommy." He sat on the edge of her bed and thought. There were so many stories. Elena laughing in the rain, Elena dancing in the kitchen at midnight, Elena holding Lily for the first time, crying because she'd never been so happy. "Your mom," he started, "loved the diner on 5th and Maple. I never understood why. It wasn't fancy. The food wasn't great. But she said it reminded her of where she grew up. She said places like that kept you honest, kept you real." "What does that mean?" "I'm still figuring it out." Lily yawned. "Tell me more." "She used to order the chicken parmesan every time, and she'd always share her fries with me, even though I told her I didn't want any. She'd put them on my plate when I wasn't looking." Lily smiled, her eyes already half closed. "That's sneaky." "She was good at sneaky." "I wish I could remember her better." Adrian's throat closed up. "You were 4 when she died, Lil. It's okay if some things are fuzzy. Do you think she's watching us?" He didn't know how to answer that. He wasn't sure what he believed anymore. "I think if she is, she's proud of you. You're growing up strong, just like her." Lily's breathing evened out. She was asleep. Adrian sat there a while longer, watching her, then got up and turned off the light. Downstairs, the house was silent. He poured himself a drink, scotch, 2 fingers, and sat in the den. Elena's picture was on the mantel. The two of them on their wedding day. She was laughing at something he'd said, her head thrown back, her hand on his chest. He'd met her at a conference in Seattle. She was a grad student, presenting research on sustainable architecture. He was there representing his company, bored out of his mind until she started talking. She wasn't polished like the other presenters. She was nervous, stumbling over words, but she cared about what she was saying, really cared. He'd asked her to dinner. She'd said no. He'd asked again the next day. She'd said no again. On the 3rd day, she'd finally said yes, but only if they went somewhere cheap because she was broke and didn't want to feel like she owed him anything. They'd ended up at a diner. Not Mel's, that came later, but one just like it. He smiled at the memory, then the smile faded. 2 years. It didn't feel like 2 years. It felt like yesterday and a lifetime ago all at once. His phone buzzed, a message from his assistant. "Board meeting Monday 9 a.m. Don't be late." He ignored it and finished his drink. The next Friday came slow and fast. Adrian spent the week in meetings, conference calls, putting out fires that didn't really matter. Vail Industries ran itself these days. He'd built it to do that. But people still wanted his input, his approval, his presence. He gave it mechanically. His mind was somewhere else. Thursday night, he told the nanny, a kind woman named Rosa who'd been with them since Lily was born, that he'd be out late Friday. "The diner again?" she asked. "Yes." "You know, Mr. Vail, you don't have to keep doing that." "I know." "Miss Elena, she wouldn't want you, and—" "I know," he said, more sharply than he meant to. Then, softer, "I know, but I promised." Rosa nodded and didn't push. She was good about that. Friday came. Adrian left the office at 5, ignored the stack of emails marked urgent, and drove across town. The diner looked the same, flickering neon, dirty windows. The same 3 people inside, or people who looked just like them. He walked in at 6:15 on the dot. Britt looked up. "Evening, Mr. Vail." "Evening." He slid into his booth, ordered the usual, sat and waited. The food came. He started eating. The second plate sat across from him, steam rising, getting cold. At 6:42, the door opened and Mara walked in. She looked better than last week. Still thin, still wearing clothes that had seen better days, but her hair was clean and pulled back. She'd showered somewhere. She wasn't soaked this time. She saw him and crossed to the booth without asking. Slid into the seat across from him, same as before. "You came," she said. "I told you I would." "People say a lot of things." "I meant it." She looked at the untouched plate. Is this for me or for her? The question caught him off guard. I don't know anymore. She picked up the fork. Mind if I eat it? Go ahead. She started eating, slower this time, not starving, just hungry. Adrian set his fork down. Can I ask you something? Depends. Where are you staying? Her jaw tightened. Why? Just curious. No, you're not. You want to know if I'm homeless. Are you? She chewed, swallowed, took her time answering. I've got a place, sort of. What does that mean? Means it's none of your business. Fair enough. He let it drop. They ate in silence for a while. Then Mara said, You married rich or did you grow up that way? Neither. I built the company from nothing. Nothing, or college kid with a dream nothing? He almost smiled. Somewhere in between. My parents were teachers. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich. I went to state school on scholarships. Started Vail Industries in my garage when I was 23. What does Vail Industries do? Tech, software, patents, boring stuff. Boring stuff that made you a billionaire, more or less. She shook her head. And you come here every week to this dump. It's not a dump. It absolutely is. It's where we came. Me and Elena. It mattered to her. Mara set the fork down. Tell me about her. Why? Because you've been sitting here for 2 years talking to a ghost, and I'm curious what kind of woman gets that kind of loyalty. Adrian looked out the window. A car went by, headlights cutting through the dusk. She was a pain in the ass, Mara laughed. Actually laughed. It was a rough sound, like she didn't do it often, but it was real. I'm serious, Adrian said. She argued about everything, politics, movies, how to load the dishwasher. She couldn't let anything go. If she thought she was right, she'd dig in and fight you all day. Sounds exhausting. It was. And she was brilliant and funny, and she didn't care about the money, not even a little. When I sold my first patent and the check cleared, she wanted to give half of it away, said we didn't need it. I thought she was crazy. Did you give it away? Some of it. To scholarship funds. She picked them herself. Mara nodded slowly. She sounds like somebody. She was. How'd she die? Adrian's hands tightened on the edge of the table. Car accident. Some kid ran a red light, T-boned her on the driver's side. She was gone before the ambulance got there. Jesus. Lily was home with me. Elena was coming back from a gallery opening, some artist friend of hers. She texted me at the last red light, said she'd be home in 10 minutes and I should open a bottle of wine. Mara didn't say anything. What could she say? I got the call 20 minutes later, Adrian continued. Officer on the scene. He was trying to be gentle, but you can't make news like that gentle. I remember thinking he had to be wrong. Elena was careful. She was a good driver. It couldn't be her. But it was. They sat with that. The diner hummed around them. Lou dropped something in the kitchen and swore. The old man left, shuffling out into the night. What about you? Adrian asked. You married? Kids? Mara's face went carefully blank. No. Ever? Close once. Didn't work out. I'm sorry. She shrugged. Long time ago. Family? Not anymore. He wanted to ask more, but the wall she'd put up was clear, so he changed the subject. You gonna be here next week? Maybe. You buying? I'm always buying. Then yeah, probably. She finished the food, wiped her mouth, and stood. Thanks. You're welcome. She left. Adrian sat there a while longer, staring at the empty plate, then paid and went home. Come. It became a routine. Every Friday, Adrian showed up at 6:15, ordered 2 meals. Mara showed up around 6:30, sometimes later. She ate the second plate. They talked. Not about anything deep at first, the weather, the city, stupid stuff on the news. But slowly, the conversation started to dig deeper. Mara told him she'd been a teacher once. 3rd grade, she'd loved it, but budget cuts killed her position and she couldn't find another job. She'd burned through her savings, lost her apartment, ended up on the street. How long? Adrian asked. 2 years, give or take. Same amount of time he'd been coming to the diner. Something about that felt significant, though he couldn't say why. You ever think about getting back into teaching? She laughed bitterly. You need an address for that, a phone that works, references. I've got none of that. There are programs, shelters, people who help. I've tried. You know how many hoops you have to jump through? How many times you get told, we'll call you, and then nothing? After a while, you stop trying. He wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was giving up, but he didn't, because he knew what it was like to stop trying. He'd been doing it for 2 years. On the fourth Friday, Mara asked about Lily. She's good, Adrian said. Smart. Too smart, maybe. She asks questions I don't know how to answer. Like what? Like why her mom had to die. Why it wasn't someone else. Someone old or mean or someone who didn't have a kid. What do you tell her? That I don't know, because I don't. Mara nodded. At least you're honest. Doesn't make it easier. Nothing makes it easier. They sat with that. On the sixth Friday, Adrian brought a photo. It was small, wallet-sized. Him and Elena and Lily at the beach. Lily was 3, building a sandcastle. Elena was laughing, her hair wild in the wind. He slid it across the table. Mara picked it up, studied it. She was beautiful. Yeah. Lily looks like her. Too much. Mara handed the photo back. That must be hard. It is, but it's also, I don't know. It's like having a piece of her still here. You're doing okay, you know, as a dad. How would you know? Because you're here every week, keeping a promise to a woman who's gone. That's not nothing. Lily's lucky. Adrian's throat tightened. I don't feel like she's lucky. I feel like I'm failing her every day. You're not. You don't know that. I know what failing looks like. This isn't it. He wanted to believe her. On the 8th Friday, Mara didn't show up. Adrian sat in the booth, the second meal growing cold across from him, and felt the absence like a physical weight. He waited until 7, then 7:30, then 8. She didn't come. He left the money on the table and walked out into the night, feeling more alone than he had in months. Quote. The following Friday, she was there when he arrived. She looked rough, a bruise on her cheek, fresh. Her lip was split. Adrian felt something sharp and hot rise in his chest. What happened? Nothing. That's not nothing. I said it's nothing. Drop it. He wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but he could see in her face that pushing would just drive her away. So he sat down and ordered the usual. They ate in silence. After a while, Mara said, There's this guy at the shelter. He's been hassling me. Thought he could take my stuff. I told him no. He hit you. I hit him first. He just hit back harder. Adrian's hands clenched into fists under the table. Did you report him? She gave him a look. To who? The cops? They don't care. I'm homeless. He's homeless. We're not people to them. We're problems. That's not... Yeah, it is. Don't pretend it's not. He wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because she was right. He knew she was right. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be. I handled it. By getting hit? By not backing down. They finished eating. When Mara stood to leave, Adrian said, Wait. She turned back. He pulled out his wallet, took out 5 20s, and held them out. Her face hardened. I don't want your money. It's not charity. It's payment. For what? For showing up, for talking to me, for making these Fridays feel less empty. She stared at the bills like they might bite her. I don't need your pity. It's not pity. It's gratitude. She didn't take the money, just looked at him, something complicated moving behind her eyes. Finally, she said, Keep it. Buy your kid something nice. And she left. Adrian sat there holding the cash, feeling like he'd screwed something up, but not sure what. Bas. 3 more Fridays passed. Mara came every time. They fell into their rhythm. She never mentioned the money again, and neither did he. On the 11th Friday, something changed. Adrian showed up at 6:15 like always, but when he tried to order, Britt shook her head. Lou's out sick. Kitchen's closed. What? Sorry, Mr. Vale. Nothing I can do. He stood there, caught off guard. He'd never considered what would happen if the diner was closed, if the routine broke. Mara walked in a few minutes later, saw him standing by the booth, saw the empty kitchen, and frowned. No food? Lou's sick. Damn. They stood there in the empty diner, 2 people with nowhere else to go. There's a Chinese place down the block, Mara said. It's cheap, probably terrible. Adrian looked at her. You asking me to dinner? I'm suggesting we don't starve. That's not a no. She almost smiled. Come on. They walked. The rain had started again, light this time. The Chinese place was called Golden Dragon, and it looked exactly as sketchy as Mara had promised. Red plastic booths, grease-stained menus, a fish tank that was more algae than water. They ordered beef and broccoli for her, sweet and sour chicken for him. The food came fast and tasted like salt and MSG and questionable choices. It was perfect. They talked about nothing and everything. Books they'd read, movies they'd seen, the city and how it was changing. I used to live over on 10th, Mara said. Before, there was this bodega on the corner, best sandwiches, run by this old Dominican guy, Manny. He'd give me extra pickles if I was nice. What happened to it? Rent went up. Manny couldn't afford it. Some boutique moved in. They sell candles for $40. Progress, if that's what you want to call it. Adrian set his fork down. Can I ask you something? You're gonna anyway. Why do you keep coming back to the diner, to me? Mara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, because you're the only person who talks to me like I'm still human. Not a problem. Not a charity case. Just a person. His chest tightened. And maybe, she continued, because you're the only person who understands what it's like to lose everything and keep breathing anyway. He didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. They finished eating, walked back toward the diner. The rain had stopped. The street was slick and shining under the lights. At the corner, Mara stopped. Same time next week? Yeah. Good. She started to walk away, then turned back. Adrian? Yeah? Thanks for this, for all of it. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I'm going to anyway. She disappeared into the dark. Adrian stood there on the corner, hands in his pockets, feeling something shift inside him. For the first time in 2 years, the weight felt a little lighter. Winter came hard that year, the kind of cold that got into your bones and stayed there. Adrian watched the city transform from his office window, frost creeping up the glass, people hunched against the wind, breath visible in clouds that disappeared as fast as they formed. The Fridays continued. 13, 14, 15. He'd stopped counting after a while, but some part of his brain kept track anyway. Each week he showed up at 6:15. Each week, Mara showed up sometime after. They ate, they talked. The routine became something he didn't just keep out of obligation anymore. It became something he needed. You ever think about changing it up? Mara asked one night. They were on their 16th Friday, or maybe 17th. The diner was nearly empty except for Britt and a couple at the counter who looked like they were having the kind of argument that had been building for years. Changing what up? This. The same meal, same time, same booth. You're like a robot. Adrian cut into his chicken. Elena liked routine, said it made her feel grounded. Elena's not here. The words landed harder than she probably meant them to. Adrian set his fork down. I know that. Do you? What's that supposed to mean? Mara leaned back, arms crossed. She'd found a better jacket somewhere, still secondhand but warmer without the holes. It means you've built a shrine out of Fridays, and I don't know if it's helping you or killing you. Who says it has to do either? Everything does one or the other. Nothing just sits neutral. He wanted to argue but couldn't find the angle. Instead, he said, You don't have to come, you know, if it bothers you. It doesn't bother me. I'm just wondering if it bothers you. It doesn't. Liar. They stared at each other across the table. Outside, snow had started to fall, light flakes that wouldn't stick but made everything look softer than it was. Fine, Adrian said. Sometimes it bothers me. Sometimes I sit here and I think about how stupid this is, how she's gone and no amount of chicken parmesan is going to bring her back, how I'm a grown man playing pretend. But you keep coming. But I keep coming. Why? He looked at the empty plate across from him. Steam had stopped rising from it 10 minutes ago. Because if I stop, then it's really over. And I'm not ready for it to be really over. Mara's expression softened. Not much, but enough. Okay? Okay? Yeah, okay, I get it. They finished eating in silence. When Mara stood to leave, she paused. For what it's worth, I don't think it's stupid. Sad, maybe, but not stupid. Thanks, I think. She pulled her jacket tight and headed for the door. Adrian watched her go, then noticed she'd left something on the seat. A scarf. Old, frayed at the edges, but clean. He grabbed it and followed her out. Mara, wait. She turned. He held up the scarf. You forgot this. She looked at it, then at him, and something passed across her face too quick to name. Keep it. What? It's cold. You're always in that suit. Keep it. I have scarves. Then give it to your kid. Before he could respond, she was gone, swallowed by the snow and the dark. Adrian stood there holding the scarf, confused, then folded it carefully and put it in his pocket. When he got home, Lily was already asleep. He set the scarf on the kitchen counter and poured himself a drink. Rosa had left a note. Lily ate all her dinner, homework done. She asked about the diner again. She asked about the diner a lot lately. Not in a suspicious way. More curious. Like she was trying to understand something but didn't know how to ask the right questions. He finished his drink and went upstairs. Lily's room was dark except for the nightlight shaped like a moon. She was curled up under the covers, one arm around a stuffed elephant that had been Elena's before it was hers. Adrian sat on the edge of the bed and brushed hair from her forehead. She stirred but didn't wake. He stayed there a while, watching her breathe, wondering what kind of father keeps his daughter at arm's length from the one place that matters to him. The next Friday, he brought the scarf back. Mara was already in the booth when he arrived, which almost never happened. You're early, he said, sliding in across from her. Lou gave me the food before you got here. Said it was cold out and I looked frozen. That was nice of him. Lou's all right, for a guy who can't cook. Adrian set the scarf on the table between them. You should take this back. I told you to keep it, and I'm telling you I don't need it. So give it to Lily. She doesn't need it either. Mara's jaw tightened. Must be nice, not needing things. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? He didn't know. He'd brought the scarf back because it felt wrong to keep it, like accepting it meant something he wasn't ready to acknowledge. But saying that out loud sounded ridiculous. I just think you should have it, he said finally. It's yours. She stared at him, then grabbed the scarf and shoved it into her jacket pocket. Fine, whatever. They ate without talking. The silence was different this time, heavier, like something had shifted and neither of them knew how to shift it back. Halfway through the meal, Adrian said, I'm sorry. For what? For being an ass. You're not an ass, you're just rich. It's different. How? Rich people don't understand when they're being insulting. Poor people know exactly when they are. He thought about that. You think I'm insulting you? I think you live in a world where scarves don't matter, where meals don't matter, where you can throw 20s around and not even notice they're gone. And I live in a world where a scarf is the difference between freezing and not freezing. So yeah, when you try to give back the only thing I've given you, it feels like an insult. Adrian set his fork down. I didn't think of it like that. I know, that's the problem. They sat with that. The couple at the counter left. Britt refilled their water glasses without asking. The snow outside turned to sleet, tapping against the windows. Keep the scarf, Mara said finally. Give it to Lily. Tell her it's from someone who wants her to stay warm. She'll ask who. Then tell her. Or don't, I don't care. But she did care. Adrian could tell. He folded the scarf and put it in his coat pocket. Thank you. Don't mention it. I mean it. I said don't mention it. Another Friday passed, then another. The scarf sat in Adrian's car for a week before he finally brought it inside. Lily found it on the counter. What's this? She asked. A scarf. Someone gave it to me. Who? A friend. What friend? Adrian hesitated. He'd never told Lily about Mara. Never mentioned the woman who ate Elena's meal every week. It felt like crossing a line he couldn't uncross. Just someone I know, he said. Lily held the scarf up, examining it. It's old. Yeah, I like it. She wrapped it around her neck, even though they were inside and it was warm. She looked at herself in the reflection of the microwave. Can I keep it? That's why I brought it home. Tell your friend thank you. I will. Lily wore the scarf to school the next day, wore it until spring came and made it too warm. By then it had become one of her favorite things, up there with the stuffed elephant and the picture of Elena she kept on her nightstand. The 20th Friday, Mara didn't show up. Adrian waited until 8, same as before. Paid his bill, left. But this time, the worry didn't go away. It sat in his chest like a stone, heavy and sharp. He drove around for an hour. Past the shelter on 8th Street, past the park where people camped under the overpass. He didn't see her, didn't know what he'd do if he did, but he looked anyway. The next Friday, she was back. She looked worse, thinner, tired in a way that went beyond missing sleep. She slid into the booth without a word and started eating. "Where were you last week?" Adrian asked. "Around." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." He wanted to push but knew better. Instead he said, "You look like hell." "Thanks. You're a real charmer." "I'm serious, Mara. What's going on?" She set her fork down hard enough that it clattered against the plate. "What do you want me to say? That I'm tired? That I'm cold all the time? That every day is the same nightmare on repeat and I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this? Is that what you want to hear? I want to help." "You can't." "Let me try." "Why? What's in it for you?" The question caught him off guard. "Nothing. I just want to help." "Nobody helps for nothing." "I do." She laughed, bitter and sharp. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. You know I eat your dead wife's food every Friday. That's it. That doesn't make us friends." The words hit like a punch. Adrian sat back, stunned. "Is that what you think?" "It's what I know." "You're wrong." "Am I?" "Yes. You're—" He stopped, searching for the right words. "You're the only person I talk to who doesn't want something from me, who doesn't look at me like I'm broken or like I'm a paycheck. You show up and you're just here. That matters." Mara's expression wavered. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't make this more than it is." "What if it already is?" "Then you're an idiot." They sat in silence. Britt walked by, saw the tension, and kept moving. Lou dropped something in the kitchen and swore loud enough that they could hear it through the window. Finally, Mara said, "I missed last week because I got jumped. Guy took my bag, had everything in it. Not that I had much, but it was mine." Adrian's hands clenched. "Did you report it?" "To who? The cops? I told you, they don't care. Someone has to care." "Well, they don't. Welcome to being invisible." "You're not invisible." "To everyone but you, I am." He wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, but the truth was, he didn't know what it was like, had never been hungry or cold or desperate, had never been invisible. "I'm sorry," he said. "Stop apologizing. It's not your fault." Still, she picked up her fork and went back to eating. After a while, she said, "The scarf. Did you give it to Lily?" "Yeah." "She like it?" "Loved it. Wore it for 2 months straight." Something softened in Mara's face. "Good." "She wanted me to say thank you." "You tell her about me?" "A little. Not everything." "What'd you say?" "That you're a friend. That you wanted her to stay warm." Mara nodded slowly. "That's nice. That you called me a friend." "You are." "Don't get used to it." "Too late." They finished eating. When Mara stood to leave, Adrian said, "Same time next week?" She hesitated. "Maybe. Maybe yes or maybe no. Maybe I'm tired of maybes." "Then let's make it definite. Next Friday, 6:30, I'll be here. You're always here. And you should be too." She looked at him for a long moment. "We'll see." The next week came and went. Mara showed up. The week after that, she showed up again and again. By the 25th Friday, it wasn't a question anymore. It was just what they did. One night in early March, Adrian brought pictures. Not just of Elena this time. Of Lily, too. At her kindergarten graduation, at the park. Asleep with the stuffed elephant. Mara looked at them one by one. "She's beautiful." "She is." "She have Elena's personality, too?" "In some ways. She's stubborn, smart, asks a million questions." "Sounds exhausting." "It is. but in a good way. Mara handed the pictures back. You're lucky to have her. I know. Do you? Really? What do you mean? I mean, do you look at her and see how lucky you are? Or do you look at her and see everything you lost? Adrian's throat tightened. Both. Yeah, I figured. They sat quiet for a while. Then Mara said, I had a kid once. Adrian looked up, shocked. What? Long time ago, I was 19, stupid, thought I could handle it, thought me and the father would figure it out. What happened? He left. Shocker, right? And I tried, I really did. But I was broke and alone and I couldn't keep it together. Social services took her when she was 2. Adrian felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I'm so sorry. Don't be. It was the right call. I was a mess. She deserved better. Do you know where she is now? No. Closed adoption. I signed the papers. Haven't seen her since. How old would she be? 11. Almost 12. Do you ever think about finding her? Every day. But I won't. She's got a life now. A real one. I'm not going to mess that up. Adrian didn't know what to say. There was nothing to say. So he just sat there, holding the space for her grief the way she'd been holding space for his. That's why I don't judge you, Mara said. For the diner, for the routine, for any of it. People grieve how they grieve, and holding on to something, even when it hurts, is better than having nothing to hold on to at all. Is that what you're doing? Holding on to nothing? Pretty much. That's not true, isn't it? You've got this every Friday. You've got me. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Yeah, I've got a rich guy who buys me dinner once a week out of guilt. Real solid foundation there. It's not guilt. Then what is it? I don't know. Friendship? Connection? Does it have to be something? Everything's something. Then it's something I don't want to lose. Mara looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time since they'd met, the wall she kept up cracked just a little. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. They finished their meals. When Mara left that night, Adrian sat in the booth a while longer, thinking about daughters and loss and the strange way people found each other in the middle of their own disasters. The 28th Friday, Mara asked about Vail Industries. What do you want to know? What you actually do, besides sign checks and go to meetings? Adrian laughed. That's pretty much it. Come on, there has to be more. Not really. I built the company to run itself, hired good people, let them do their jobs. So what do you do all day? Honestly, try not to screw things up. That's it? That's it. Sounds boring. It is. Then why do you do it? Because Elena wanted me to. She said I was good at building things, that I shouldn't waste it. And now? Now I do it because it's there. Because stopping would mean figuring out what else to do with my life, and I'm not ready for that. Mara nodded. I get that. Do you? Yeah. It's easier to keep moving than to stop and figure out where you're actually going. They talked until the diner closed. Britt had to ask them to leave twice before they finally got up. Outside, the air smelled like rain about to happen. Walk you somewhere? Adrian asked. I'm good. Mara, I said I'm good. At least let me give you a ride. To where? I don't have a where. Then let me get you a hotel room, just for tonight. Her face hardened. No. Why not? Because I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's basic human decency. Call it whatever you want. The answer's still no. They stood there on the sidewalk, stubborn and stupid, until Mara finally said, I'll see you next week. Promise? Don't push it. She walked away. Adrian watched until she disappeared around the corner, then got in his car and sat there for 20 minutes, trying to figure out how to help someone who wouldn't let him. The 29th Friday, Adrian didn't show up. He meant to. He got in his car at 5:30, same as always. But Lily spiked a fever at 6, and by 6:15 she was burning up and crying. And Adrian was on the phone with her pediatrician trying to figure out if they needed to go to the emergency room. They didn't, just a bad flu. But by the time he got her settled with medicine and water and the right episode of the show she liked, it was after 8 and the diner was closed. He thought about calling, realized he didn't have Mara's number, didn't have any way to reach her. The guilt sat in his stomach like lead. The next Friday, he showed up early, 6 o'clock. ordered the meals, waited. Mara didn't come at 6:30, or 7, or 7:30. At 8, Adrian paid and left, stomach churning. He drove to the shelter on 8th, asked if anyone knew a woman named Mara, got blank stares, drove to the park, the overpass, every place he could think of. Nothing. He went home and barely slept, spent the week distracted, short-tempered. Lily asked if he was okay. He lied and said yes. The 31st Friday, he showed up at 6 and sat in the booth, hands shaking slightly, praying she'd walk through the door. At 6:45, she did. Adrian stood up so fast he nearly knocked the table over. "Where the hell have you been?" Mara stopped. "Excuse me? I've been looking for you. I went to shelters, the park. I thought—" He stopped, not sure how to finish that sentence. "You thought what?" "I don't know. That something happened to you." "Something's always happening to me. That's life. That's not funny. I'm not joking." They stood there, half the diner between them. Then Mara walked over and slid into the booth. "I'm fine. Relax." "Where were you?" "Last week and the week before." "Around—" "Mara," she sighed. "I was in the hospital. Nothing serious, just got pneumonia. They kept me a few days to make sure I didn't die." Adrian felt the blood drain from his face. "Why didn't you tell me?" "How? I don't have your number, and it's not like we're family." "We're friends." "Friends have phone numbers." "Then give me yours." "I don't have a phone." "Then I'll get you one." "No?" "Why not?" "Because I don't want to owe you anything." "You wouldn't owe me anything. That's not how it works. When rich people give poor people things, there's always strings. Not with me. Especially with you." Adrian sat down hard. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're trying to save me, and I don't need saving." "I'm not trying to save you." "Then what are you doing?" "I'm trying to be your friend." "Why?" "Because I care about you." The words hung in the air between them. Mara's expression went carefully neutral. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't care about me. It won't end well." "Too late." "Adrian, I mean it. You matter to me. Deal with it." They stared at each other. Finally, Mara said, "You're an idiot." "So you keep telling me." "I mean it this time." "I know." She shook her head, almost smiling. "Fine. You want to care? Care. But don't say I didn't warn you." They ate their meals, talked about nothing important, but something had shifted. Some line had been crossed that neither of them could uncross. When Mara left that night, Adrian followed her out. "Hold on," he said. She turned. He pulled out his wallet, took out a business card, and wrote his personal cell number on the back. "Take this." "I told you." "It's just a number, in case you need something, in case something happens." "I'm not going to call you." "Maybe not, but have it anyway." She took the card, looked at it, then shoved it in her pocket. "This doesn't change anything." "I know. We're still just Friday dinners." "If you say so." "I do say so." "Okay." She walked away. Adrian watched her go, knowing she was lying, knowing they both were. Because it had already changed, and there was no going back. Spring came slow, then all at once. The trees on Adrian's street went from bare to green in what felt like a week. Lily turned 7 and had a birthday party in the backyard with 12 screaming kids and a bounce house that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She wore the scarf Mara had given her, even though it was too warm for it, wrapped around her wrist like a bracelet. Adrian stood on the patio watching the chaos, holding a beer he wasn't drinking, when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then something made him pick up. "Hello?" "It's me." Mara's voice. He stepped away from the noise toward the far corner of the yard. "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah, fine. She paused. "I found a phone." "Well, someone gave me one. It's a piece of junk, but it works." "That's good." "Yeah, so I'm calling, like you said I could." "I'm glad you did." Another pause. In the background of her call, he could hear traffic. Voices. The city. "I'm not calling because I need something," Mara said. "I just wanted you to know I had a number now, in case." "In case what?" "In case you needed to reach me, or whatever." Adrian smiled. Can I have it? She rattled off the number. He typed it into his phone, saved it under her name. Got it, he said. Okay, good. Mara? Yeah? I'm glad you called. Don't make it weird. Too late. He heard her exhale, almost a laugh. I'll see you Friday. See you Friday. She hung up. Adrian stood there holding his phone, feeling something warm spread through his chest. Behind him, kids screamed and the bounce house wheezed and Lily laughed so hard she snorted. Rosa appeared at his elbow. Everything okay, Mr. Vale? Yeah, everything's fine. That Friday, something was different. Adrian felt it the moment he walked into the diner. Mara was already there, in the booth, but she wasn't alone. She was talking to Britt. Actually talking, not just ordering. The two of them were laughing about something. When Adrian approached, Britt looked up. Oh, hey, Mr. Vale. Your friend here was just telling me about the time she accidentally locked herself in a school supply closet. For 3 hours, Mara added. The janitor found me asleep on a box of paper towels. Adrian slid into the booth. When was this? When I was teaching. Kid asked me to get construction paper and I wasn't paying attention. Door locked behind me. No windows, no phone signal. I just gave up and took a nap. Britt laughed. That's amazing. That's embarrassing. Both things can be true. Britt went to put their order in. Adrian looked at Mara. You're in a good mood. Am I not allowed to be? No, it's just, you are. It's nice. She shrugged. Found a new shelter. Better than the last one. They've got actual beds, showers that work. It's not much, but it's something. That's great. Yeah, and I've been talking to this woman there, Carmen. She runs a job program, helps people get back on their feet. I'm thinking about doing it. Adrian felt hope rise in his chest. You should. I don't know. It's a lot of hoops. Background checks, references, all the stuff I don't have. But you're thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. The food came. They ate. The conversation flowed easier than it had in weeks. Mara told him about Carmen, about the other people at the shelter, about a guy who played guitar in the common room and wasn't half bad. You should come by sometime, she said. Adrian looked up, surprised. To the shelter? Yeah, Carmen does this thing on Sundays, community meal. She's always looking for volunteers. I don't know if I'd be much help. You can carry plates, can't you? I guess. Then you'd be helpful. He thought about it. Tried to picture himself in a homeless shelter, serving food, talking to people whose lives he couldn't begin to understand. It felt presumptuous, like poverty tourism. I'll think about it, he said. Don't think too hard. You'll hurt yourself. Funny. I try. They finished eating. When Mara stood to leave, Adrian said, Can I ask you something? Depends on what it is. Why now? Why are you suddenly trying to get your life together? She was quiet for a moment. Because I'm tired. And because sitting across from you every week, watching you figure out how to be a person again, it made me realize I want that too. I want to be a person again. Adrian's throat went tight. You've always been a person. Not in the ways that matter. That's not true. It is. But maybe it doesn't have to stay that way. She left. Adrian sat there long after she was gone, feeling something shift inside him. Something that felt uncomfortably like hope. The next Friday, Adrian didn't show up. Not because he forgot. Not because Lily was sick. But because his phone rang at 5:30, and the voice on the other end said, This is County General. We have Mara Ellis here. You're listed as her emergency contact. Adrian's heart stopped. What happened? She collapsed. We're running tests now. Can you come down? He was in the car before the nurse finished talking. The hospital was 20 minutes across town. Adrian made it in 12. He parked illegally and ran inside, shoes squeaking on the linoleum, past people in wheelchairs and crying children and a man holding a bloody towel to his head. The nurse at the desk looked up. Can I help you? Mara Ellis. I got a call. Where is she? The nurse checked her computer. 3rd floor, room 314. Adrian took the stairs, burst onto the 3rd floor, breathing hard, found room 314. The door was half open. Mara was in the bed, hooked up to an IV, looking small and pale against the white sheets. Her eyes were closed. A doctor stood beside her, making notes on a tablet. Is she okay? Adrian asked. The doctor looked up. Are you family? I'm... He stopped. What was he? I'm the person she called. She's stable. Severe dehydration, malnutrition. Her blood sugar bottomed out. She's lucky someone found her when they did. Adrian moved closer to the bed. Mara's eyes fluttered open. Hey, she said. Her voice was rough. Hey, you scared the hell out of me. Sorry. Don't apologize. Are you okay? Been better. The doctor cleared his throat. We'd like to keep her overnight for observation. Make sure there's no underlying issues. Does she have insurance? Mara laughed weakly. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll take care of it, Adrian said. Sir, hospital bills can be quite... I said I'll take care of it. The doctor nodded and left. Adrian pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. You didn't have to come, Mara said. Yes, I did. I'm fine. You collapsed in the street. People do that all the time. Not people I care about. She closed her eyes. You need to stop caring about me. Not going to happen. Adrian. No, don't. Don't try to push me away right now. You called me. I'm here. That's how this works. This doesn't work. We don't work. Why not? Because look at us. Look at this. I'm in a hospital bed because I'm too broke to eat properly, and you're in a $1,500 suit offering to pay my bills. We're not friends. We're not anything. We're just two sad people who keep running into each other. Adrian leaned forward. You're wrong. I'm not. You are. We're friends, whether you want to admit it or not. And friends show up. Friends take care of each other. So stop fighting me on this. Mara opened her eyes. They were wet. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Let someone help me. Then learn. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away angry and fast. I hate this. I hate being weak. You're not weak. You're human. Same thing. No, it's not. They sat in silence. A nurse came in, checked Mara's vitals, adjusted the IV, and left. Outside the window, the sun was setting. The room filled with orange light. Where's Lily? Mara asked. Home with Rosa. I texted her, told her I'd be late. You should go. She'll worry. She's fine. Adrian. I'm staying. For how long? As long as you're here. Mara closed her eyes again. You're stubborn. So are you. Yeah, I guess we have that in common. Adrian stayed until visiting hours ended, as a nurse came in and told him he had to leave. He stood, reluctant. I'll be back tomorrow, he said. You don't have to. I know. He started to leave, then turned back. Mara? Yeah? I'm glad you listed me as your emergency contact. Didn't have anyone else. Still, I'm glad it was me. She didn't answer, just looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. Adrian left, drove home, found Lily already asleep and Rosa cleaning up the kitchen. Everything okay? Rosa asked. Yeah, a friend was in the hospital. I had to check on them. The woman from the diner? Adrian looked at her, surprised. How did you... Lily talks. She mentioned her father has a friend who eats with him on Fridays, a woman who gave her the scarf. Oh, is she all right, your friend? She will be. Rosa nodded. That's good. She must mean a lot to you, for you to drop everything like that. Adrian didn't know what to say to that, so he just said goodnight and went upstairs. He couldn't sleep, kept thinking about Mara in that hospital bed, about how small she'd looked, how breakable. At 2 a.m, he got up and went to Lily's room. She was asleep, same as always. He sat on the edge of her bed and watched her breathe. Your mom would know what to do, he whispered. She always knew what to do. Lily stirred but didn't wake. Adrian sat there until the sun started to come up, then went back to his room and got ready for the day. He showed up at the hospital at 8. Mara was awake, eating breakfast, or trying to. She pushed the eggs around the plate without much enthusiasm. That bad? Adrian asked from the doorway. She looked up. You came back. Said I would. People say a lot of things. We've had this conversation. She set the fork down. Yeah, I guess we have. Adrian pulled the chair close and sat. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, but alive. That's something. Yeah. They sat quiet for a bit. Then Mara said, "The doctor wants me to stay another night for observation." "Good. It's expensive. I told you I'd take care of it." "Adrian, don't. Just let me do this." "Why?" "Because you'd do the same for me. I'm broke. I couldn't do the same for you if I wanted to. You'd find a way. I know you would." She looked at him for a long time. Finally, she said, "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah, okay. You can pay my hospital bill, but I'm paying you back. You don't have to. I'm paying you back. However long it takes, even if it takes forever." Adrian smiled. "Deal." The doctor came in around noon, ran more tests, said everything looked better. Her blood sugar was stabilizing. She just needed rest and proper nutrition. "You should consider staying somewhere stable," the doctor said. "Regular meals, consistent sleep schedule. The streets are hard on the body." "No kidding," Mara muttered. After the doctor left, Adrian said, "He's right." "About what?" "About you needing somewhere stable." "Yeah, well, stable costs money. I could help with that." "No." "Mara, I said no. I'm not taking your money. The hospital bill is bad enough." "What if it's not money? What if it's just a place to stay?" "Like what? A hotel? That's still money." "Like the guest house behind my place. It's empty. Has been since Elena died. It's just sitting there." Mara stared at him. "You're not serious." "I am." "Adrian, no, absolutely not." "Why not?" "Because it's too much. Because I can't pay you rent. Because it's inappropriate." "How is it inappropriate?" "Because you're a billionaire widower, and I'm a homeless woman, and people will talk." "Let them talk." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one who'll get called a gold digger. Nobody's going to call you that." "You'd be surprised." Adrian leaned forward. "Look, I'm not asking you to move into my house. I'm offering you the guest house. It's separate, private. It's got a kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom. It's just sitting there empty, and you need a place to stay. That's it. Nothing weird." "Everything about this is weird." "Maybe. But it's practical. And you need practical right now." Mara closed her eyes. "I can't believe I'm even considering this." "Is that a yes?" "It's a maybe." "I'll take it." She opened her eyes. "If I say yes, and that's a big if, there have to be rules." "Okay." "I'm serious. Actual rules. Boundaries." "Fine. What are they?" "I pay rent, whatever I can afford, even if it's just $20 a month." "Okay." "And I keep to myself. I'm not your charity project. I'm not your friend who needs saving. I'm just someone renting a room. Except we are friends." "Adrian." "Fine. You're a tenant. Is that better?" "It's more honest." "Whatever you need to tell yourself." "And Lily can't know. Not yet. Not until I figure out if this is even going to work." Adrian hesitated. "That might be hard. She'll see you around. Then we tell her I'm the gardener or something. I don't know. But I'm not ready to be some stranger living in her dead mom's guest house. That's too much pressure." "Okay, we'll figure it out." Mara looked at him, searching his face for something. "Why are you doing this?" "I told you. You need a place." "I have a place." "That's not an answer." He thought about it, really thought about it. "Because Elena would have done the same thing. And because sitting in this room watching you fight me on every bit of help makes me realize how much I've been fighting, too. Maybe if I help you stop fighting, I'll figure out how to do it myself." Mara's expression softened. "That's either really profound or complete bullshit." "Probably both." "Yeah, probably." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Okay." "Okay." "I'll take the guest house, temporarily, until I get back on my feet. Temporarily. And we stick to the rules. All of them. Especially the ones about boundaries. Especially those." She held out her hand. "Deal?" He shook it. Her grip was weak but firm. "Deal." The hospital released Mara the next day. Adrian picked her up in his car, a sleek black sedan that made her laugh when she saw it. "Of course you drive this," she said. "What's wrong with it?" "Nothing. It's just so you." "I don't know what that means." "Expensive and boring." "Hey, I'm kidding. Mostly. They drove across town to his place. Mara stared out the window as they climbed into the hills, past bigger and bigger houses, gates and long driveways and lawns that looked like golf courses. "You live up here?" she asked. "Yeah." "Jesus. Is that a problem?" "No, it's just, this is a different planet. It's just a neighborhood. Just a neighborhood, right, where houses cost $10 million. 12, actually. She looked at him. "You're not helping." He pulled through the gate and up the driveway. The house rose in front of them, all glass and stone and architectural angles. Mara got out of the car slowly, staring. "This is where you live?" "Yeah. With just you and Lily. And Rosa. 3 people in this whole place. It's too big. I know. Elena always said so, too." Mara shook her head. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. Come on. The guest house is around back." He led her along the side path, past the pool and the garden and the patio with furniture that probably cost more than she'd made in a year when she was teaching. The guest house sat at the edge of the property, small and modern, with big windows and a green roof. Adrian unlocked the door, and they stepped inside. It was beautiful. Clean and bright, with hardwood floors and white walls and furniture that looked like it came from a magazine. A kitchenette in one corner. A bathroom with a shower that had 3 different heads. A bedroom with a queen bed and sheets that probably had a thread count in the thousands. Mara stood in the middle of the room, frozen. "Is it okay?" Adrian asked. She didn't answer, just stood there, staring. "Mara?" She turned. Her eyes were wet. "It's perfect." "Yeah?"
"Yeah." She wiped her face. "Sorry, I haven't had a place in so long. A real place. With a door that locks and a bed, and..." Her voice broke. Adrian stepped closer but didn't touch her. "Take your time. Get settled. There's food in the fridge, towels in the bathroom. If you need anything, the main house is right there." "Okay." "And Mara?" "Yeah?" "Welcome home." She laughed, wet and shaky. "Don't get ahead of yourself. I'm just renting." "Right, just renting."
He left her there and walked back to the main house. Inside, Lily was in the kitchen with Rosa, doing homework at the counter. "Daddy!" She jumped down and ran to him. "Where were you?" "I had to help a friend. Remember I told you?" "Is she okay?" "She's better." "Good." Lily went back to her homework. "Rosa said we're having spaghetti for dinner." "Sounds good." He stood there watching her write, thinking about the woman in the guest house, and the daughter who didn't know she was there, and the wife who would have handled this whole situation better than he was. That night, Adrian lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Thank you, I mean it." M. He typed back. "You're welcome. Sleep well." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. This is weird, right? Me being here? A little, but good weird or bad weird? Adrian thought about it. Good weird. I think. You think? I'm figuring it out as I go. Yeah. Me too. The dots disappeared. Stayed gone. Adrian set his phone down and closed his eyes. Outside, the city stretched below them, lights flickering like stars that had fallen to earth. In the guest house, Mara was probably lying in a real bed for the first time in years, staring at her own ceiling, wondering what the hell she'd gotten herself into. Adrian smiled in the dark. Good weird. Definitely good weird. The first week was awkward. Mara stayed in the guest house like it was a fortress, only coming out when she thought no one was watching. Adrian would see her sometimes from the kitchen window, crossing the yard early in the morning, heading who knows where. She'd be back by evening, moving like a shadow along the edge of the property. He gave her space. That was the deal. Boundaries and space and no pressure. On day 8, Lily saw her. Adrian was in the den when he heard his daughter's voice outside, bright and curious. He got up and looked out the window. Lily was standing in the middle of the backyard, staring at Mara, who'd frozen halfway across the lawn like a deer caught in headlights. Adrian bolted outside. Hi, Lily was saying. I'm Lily. Do you live here? Mara glanced at Adrian, panicked. He gave her a tiny nod. I'm staying in the guest house for a little while, Mara said carefully. Your dad's letting me rent it. Oh, are you the new gardener? Something like that.
Lily studied her with the kind of intense focus only 7-year-olds could manage. "You're the one who gave me the scarf." Mara blinked. "How did you—" "Daddy told me. He said you were his friend from the diner, the one who wanted me to stay warm." "Yeah, that was me. I really like the scarf. I wore it all winter. I'm glad."
They stood there in the afternoon sun, the three of them, not sure what came next. Finally, Lily said, "Do you want to see my room?" "Lily," Adrian started. "It's okay," Mara said quietly. "I'd like that." Lily grabbed her hand and dragged her inside. Adrian followed, heart pounding. This wasn't the plan. The plan was to keep them separate until Mara was ready. But Lily had blown that plan to pieces in under 30 seconds. They went upstairs. Lily's room was exactly what you'd expect from a 7-year-old who had too much money and not enough of a mother's organizational skills. Toys everywhere, books stacked in piles, drawings taped to the walls. "This is Mr. Trunk," Lily said, holding up the stuffed elephant. "He was my mom's when she was little." Mara took the elephant carefully. "He's very handsome. He's old, but I love him anyway. Old things are usually the best things." Lily beamed. "That's what my mom used to say." Mara's expression flickered. She handed the elephant back. "Your mom sounds like she was smart." "She was. Daddy says I'm like her." "I bet you are." Lily launched into a detailed explanation of every drawing on her wall, every toy on her shelf, every book she'd read 3 times. Mara listened like it was the most fascinating thing she'd ever heard. Adrian stood in the doorway, watching, feeling something tight in his chest loosen just a little. After 20 minutes, Rosa appeared. "Lily, time for your piano practice." "But I'm showing Mara my stuff." "Piano first, you can show her more later." Lily sighed dramatically, but went. Mara stood up, looking relieved and overwhelmed in equal measure. "Sorry," Adrian said. "She's persistent." "She's great." "Yeah, she is." They walked downstairs and out into the yard. When they were far enough from the house, Mara said, "That was too much, right? I shouldn't have—" "It was fine. She knows who I am now." "She knew anyway, from the scarf. But now it's real. Now I'm not just some story you told her. I'm a person in her space." "Is that bad?" Mara stopped walking. "I don't know, maybe. I don't know how to be around kids anymore. You were great with her. I was faking it." "So? Everyone fakes it. That's parenting." She almost smiled. "You're not supposed to admit that." "Why not? It's true." They reached the guest house. Mara hesitated at the door. "I should probably stay out of sight more. Keep my distance." "If that's what you want." "It's not about what I want. It's about what's right." "And what's right?" "I don't know." She looked exhausted. "I used to know, before everything fell apart. Now I just make it up as I go and hope I don't screw up too badly." Adrian understood that feeling better than he wanted to admit. "Join the club." She went inside. Adrian walked back to the house. Through the window, he could see Lily at the piano, fingers picking out a melody that was almost right. Rosa stood nearby, patient and kind. Everything looked normal, safe. But something had shifted. Some invisible line had been crossed, and there was no going back. That night, after Lily was asleep, Adrian texted Mara. "You still up?" "Yeah." "Want to talk?" "About what?" "Today." "Lily, whatever's on your mind." 3 dots. Then nothing. Then, "Meet me outside?" Adrian grabbed a jacket and went out. Mara was sitting on the steps of the guest house, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the city lights below. He sat beside her. "Can't sleep?" "Never could. Even before. I'm a night person." "Me too." "Elena used to hate it. She'd be asleep by 10 and I'd be up until 2, working or reading or just thinking. What do you think about? Everything. Nothing. What I should have done differently. What I need to do tomorrow. Whether I'm failing, Lily, the usual." Mara nodded. "Yeah, I get that." They sat in silence for a while. The night was cool, but not cold. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. "I saw her today," Mara said. "My daughter. Not in person, just in my head. She'd be 12 now, almost a teenager. I wonder if she looks like me, if she's happy, if her parents tell her she's adopted, or if they pretend she's theirs."
Do you wish you hadn't given her up? Every single day. But I also know it was the right thing. I couldn't take care of her. I couldn't take care of myself. She deserved better. You don't know that you couldn't have figured it out. Yes, I do. I was 19 and broke, and the father was gone, and I was barely holding it together. Keeping her would have been selfish, would have ruined both our lives. Or maybe it would have saved yours. Mara looked at him. That's a nice thought, but it's not reality. How do you know? Because I'm here. Living in your guest house because I collapsed in the street from not eating enough. That's where I ended up. Imagine where I'd be if I'd had a kid to worry about. Adrian didn't have an answer for that. I think about her when I see Lily, Mara continued. I wonder if my daughter has that same energy, that same curiosity, if she's loved the way Lily's loved. I'm sure she is. You don't know that. No, but I choose to believe it. Mara pulled the blanket tighter. You're an optimist. That's weird for someone who's been through what you've been through. I'm not an optimist. I'm just trying not to drown in the alternative. Fair enough. They sat until the cold got to be too much, then said goodnight and went their separate ways. Adrian climbed into his too-big bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about daughters and choices and the million ways life could go wrong. The next Friday, they didn't go to the diner. It felt wrong at first, like breaking a promise. But Mara pointed out that she was literally living in his backyard now, and maybe it was time to acknowledge that things had changed. We could still go, Adrian said, if you want to. Do you want to? He thought about it. The booth, the chicken parmesan, the ritual of it all. I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me thinks maybe we don't need it anymore. Then let's skip it. Just this once. See how it feels. They stayed home instead. Mara cooked dinner in the guest house kitchen, pasta with vegetables and garlic bread that smelled incredible. She invited Adrian over and he brought wine he'd been saving for nothing in particular. Lily was at a sleepover. The house felt empty without her. But the guest house felt alive. They ate at the small table by the window, talked about everything and nothing. Mara told him about Carmen's job program, how she had an interview lined up at an elementary school for a teacher's aide position. That's amazing, Adrian said. It's minimum wage and part-time. Not exactly amazing. It's a start. Yeah, it is. When's the interview? Monday. If I don't completely blow it, maybe they'll hire me. You won't blow it. You don't know that. I know you. You'll be great. She looked at him across the table, something soft in her expression. You have a lot of faith in me. Someone should. Why you? Why not me? Because you barely know me. I know enough. What do you know? Adrian set his wine glass down. I know you're stubborn and proud, and you fight help even when you need it. I know you've been through hell and came out the other side still caring about people. I know you gave your daughter a better life even though it broke you. I know you showed up every Friday for months because you knew I needed someone to show up. That's what I know. Mara's eyes went bright. She looked away, blinking fast. Stop. Stop what? Being nice. It makes it hard to keep my walls up. Good. Your walls are exhausting. She laughed, wet and surprised. You're exhausting. I've been told. They finished dinner, cleaned up together. Adrian washed, Mara dried. It felt domestic in a way that should have been uncomfortable, but wasn't. When they were done, Mara walked him to the door. Thanks for tonight. Thank you for cooking, for letting me skip the diner without guilt. We can still go if you want, next week. Maybe. Or maybe we start a new tradition. Like what? I don't know. We'll figure it out. She smiled. Yeah, we will. Adrian walked back to the main house feeling lighter than he had in months. Monday came. Mara left early for her interview, dressed in clothes Adrian had quietly bought and left in a shopping bag by her door with no note. She hadn't mentioned them, hadn't thanked him, but she'd warned them. He spent the day distracted, snapped at his assistant during a conference call, couldn't focus on the contracts in front of him. By 3 o'clock, he gave up and went home. Lily was doing homework at the kitchen table. Where's Mara? She had an interview for a job. Is she going to move out? The question caught him off guard. What? If she gets a job, will she leave? I don't know, Lil. Maybe eventually. I don't want her to leave. Why not? Lily shrugged.
I like her. She's nice, and she listens when I talk. Really listens. Not like grown-ups who pretend to listen, but they're really thinking about other stuff. Adrian sat down across from her. You've only talked to her a few times. I know, but I can tell. She's sad like you used to be, but she's getting less sad. Like you. I'm not sad. Lily gave him a look that was far too knowing for 7. You're less sad than you were, before Mara came. He didn't know what to say to that. I think Mom would like her, Lily added quietly. Adrian's throat closed. Yeah? Yeah. Mom liked people who tried hard. Mara tries hard. She does? So can she stay, even if she gets the job? That's up to her, sweetheart. But you want her to stay, right? Adrian looked at his daughter, at her hopeful face and Elena's eyes. Yeah, I do. Mara came home at 5. Adrian was on the patio, pretending to read emails, but really just watching the driveway. She walked across the yard and he stood up. How'd it go? Her face was unreadable. Then she broke into a grin. I got it. You got it? I start next week. 3 days a week, minimum wage, but it's mine. I got it. Adrian crossed to her without thinking and pulled her into a hug. She went stiff for a second, then melted into it, her face pressed against his shoulder. I'm so proud of you, he said. Don't. You'll make me cry. Cry? I don't care. She did, just a little. Then she pulled back, wiping her face. This is stupid. It's just a teacher's aide job. It's not stupid. It's everything. Yeah, it kind of is. They stood there grinning at each other like idiots until Lily came running out. Did you get it? Did you get the job? I did. Lily threw her arms around Mara's waist. I knew you would. Mara looked down at her, surprised and touched. Thanks, kiddo. Can we celebrate? Can we get ice cream? Mara looked at Adrian. He nodded. Yeah, Mara said. We can get ice cream. They piled into the car, drove to the ice cream place downtown that Lily loved, got cones that were too big, and ate them at a picnic table while the sun set and the city came alive around them. Lily talked nonstop. Mara listened. Adrian watched them both and thought about how strange life was, how you could lose everything and still find something worth holding on to. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat. Mara looked back at her and smiled. She's a good kid, she said quietly. She is. You're doing a good job. I'm trying. That's all any of us can do. When they got home, Adrian carried Lily inside. Mara followed him up to her room and waited in the hallway while he tucked her in. She really does look like Elena, Mara said when he came out. I know, it used to hurt. Now it just makes me grateful. That's good, that you can see it that way. They walked downstairs. At the door, Mara paused. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you think you'll ever stop loving her, Elena? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. No, I don't think I will. Mara nodded. Good. You shouldn't. But I think maybe there's room for other things too. Other people. I'm starting to believe that. Yeah? Yeah. Something passed between them. Unspoken, but real. Good night, Adrian. Good night. She left. Adrian stood in the doorway watching her cross the yard, and for the first time in 2 years, the house didn't feel quite so empty. The weeks blurred together after that. Mara started her job and came home exhausted but happy. She'd tell stories about the kids in her class, about the teacher she worked with, about the small victories and daily chaos. Adrian started taking Fridays off, not going to the office, just being home. Sometimes they'd all have dinner together. Sometimes Mara would cook. Sometimes they'd order takeout and eat in the backyard while Lily ran around catching fireflies. One night in late May, Lily asked Mara to help her with a school project about family trees. I don't know if I'm the right person for this, Mara said. Why not? Because family is complicated, and I don't really have one. Everyone has one. Not me, not anymore. Lily thought about it. Then you can be part of ours. Mara looked at Adrian. He shrugged, leaving it up to her. Okay, Mara said. I can help. They spent 2 hours at the kitchen table, Lily asking questions and drawing branches. When it came time to add Mara, Lily drew her off to the side with a line connecting to both Adrian and herself. What's that? Mara asked. You're our friend. Friends are family, too. Mara's eyes went wet. Yeah, they are. Later, after Lily was in bed, Mara found Adrian in the den. Hey, she said. Hey, can we talk? Of course. She sat down on the couch. He turned off the TV and gave her his full attention. I've been thinking, she said, about the guest house, about staying here. Adrian's stomach tightened. Okay. I don't want to overstay. I don't want to be a burden, but I also don't want to leave. You're not a burden. You say that now. I'll say it forever. She smiled. You can't promise that. Watch me. Adrian, stay. However long you want. However long you need. Stay. What if I mess up? What if I'm not good at this? At what? Being part of something. Being around people who care. I haven't done it in so long. Then we'll figure it out together. What about Lily? What about her? What if she gets attached and I leave and it hurts her? What if you stay and it's good for all of us? Mara looked at him, really looked at him. You make it sound easy. It's not easy, but it's simple. You're here. We want you here. Stay. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Okay. Okay. I'll stay. For now. For now is good enough. She stood up, started to leave, then turned back. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you for everything, for seeing me when I was invisible, for not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. You never gave up, you just got tired. Same thing. No, it's not. She smiled, small and real. Good night. Good night. After she left, Adrian sat in the dark for a while. The house was quiet. Outside, he could see the guest house lights still on, Mara moving around inside. He thought about Elena, about the promise he'd made to never abandon the diner, about how he'd kept that promise for 2 years until the promise changed into something else, something alive and growing. He pulled out his phone, opened his photos, found the picture of him and Elena at the beach, looked at it for a long time. I think you'd understand, he said to the image. I think you'd want this. For me, for Lily, for all of us. The picture didn't answer, but he felt lighter anyway. Summer came. Lily finished 2nd grade. Mara's job became permanent, full-time. She started saving money, insisted on paying rent even though Adrian kept refusing. They compromised. She'd pay for groceries when she cooked. He'd pretend that counted as rent. One Saturday in July, Lily got sick. Really sick. Fever spiking to 103. Throwing up everything she tried to eat. Adrian called the pediatrician. They said to monitor it. Give her fluids. Come in if it got worse. It got worse. By midnight, Lily was delirious, crying for her mother. Adrian sat beside her bed, helpless, trying to keep her cool with wet cloths and failing. Rosa had the weekend off. He was alone. No, not alone. He texted Mara. Lily's really sick. I don't know what to do. She was there in 2 minutes, barefoot, hair messy, still in her pajamas. What's her temp? She asked. 104.2. We need to get her to the hospital. The doctor said, I don't care what the doctor said. That's too high. We go now. Adrian didn't argue, just scooped Lily up. She was burning against his chest. Mara grabbed his keys, drove while he held Lily in the back seat. The hospital was 20 minutes away. Mara made it in 12. They rushed inside. Nurses took Lily back immediately. Adrian tried to follow, but they stopped him. We need to examine her. You can see her soon. He stood in the waiting room, shaking. Mara put her hand on his arm. She'll be okay, she said. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. And you need to believe it too. They waited. An hour. Then 2. Finally, a doctor came out. She's got a severe ear infection, spread to her throat. We've got her on IV antibiotics. She's going to be fine, but we'd like to keep her overnight for observation. Adrian nearly collapsed with relief. Can I see her? Of course. Lily was in a bed, hooked up to machines, looking small and pale, but her eyes were open and she managed a weak smile when she saw him. Hey, baby girl, he said, sitting beside her. Hi, Daddy. You scared me. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Just get better. Okay? Mara stood in the doorway. Lily saw her and reached out a hand. Mara came over and took it. "You came too," Lily said. "Of course I did." "I'm glad." "Me too, kiddo." They stayed until Lily fell asleep. Then Adrian convinced Mara to go home and get some rest. He'd stay with Lily. "You sure?" Mara asked. "I'm sure. I'll call if anything changes." She nodded, started to leave, then came back and hugged him, quick and fierce. "She's going to be fine," she said. "I know. You're a good dad." "I'm trying. That's all that matters." She left. Adrian sat in the chair beside Lily's bed, watching her breathe, and thought about all the people who'd shown up when he needed them. Rosa, Mara, even Britt and Lou at the diner, in their own way. He wasn't alone. Not anymore. Lily came home the next day, weak but better. Mara brought over soup she'd made, sat with Lily while Adrian showered and changed, read to her until she fell asleep. "Thank you," Adrian said when Mara finally left. "You don't have to keep thanking me." "I know, but I'm going to anyway." She smiled. "Yeah, I figured." That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He kept checking on Lily, making sure she was breathing, making sure the fever hadn't come back. Around 2 in the morning, his phone buzzed. "You still up?" "Mara." "Yeah, me too. Can't shut my brain off. Same. She's okay, you know." "Lily. She's tough." "I know. Doesn't make it easier." "No, it doesn't. Thanks for tonight. For knowing what to do when I didn't. That's what friends do." Adrian stared at the word. Friends. It felt too small for what they'd become, but he didn't have a better word yet. "Get some sleep," he typed. "You too." He set the phone down and closed his eyes. In the morning, everything would start again, the routine, the work, the endless motion forward. But tonight, in the quiet dark, he let himself feel grateful. For Lily, for Mara, for second chances and new beginnings, and the strange, unexpected way life could still surprise you, even when you thought you'd seen it all. August arrived with heat that made the city shimmer. Adrian found himself thinking about the diner less and less. The ritual that had defined 2 years of his life had faded into something quieter, something that didn't demand his grief every Friday at 6:15. He still thought about Elena, still missed her. But the missing had changed shape. It wasn't the sharp, cutting thing it used to be. It was softer now, more like an old scar than an open wound. Mara noticed. "You're different," she said one evening. They were sitting on the patio while Lily practiced cartwheels on the lawn, her form terrible, but her enthusiasm limitless. "Different how?" Adrian asked. "Lighter, like you're not carrying around 100 pounds of bricks anymore." "Maybe I'm not." "What changed?" He watched Lily tumble across the grass, laughing when she landed wrong. "I don't know. Everything, nothing. You being here. Lily getting older. Time, I guess." "Time doesn't heal anything. That's a lie people tell themselves." "Maybe not heal, but it makes things bearable." Mara pulled her knees to her chest. She'd gained weight since moving in, her face fuller, her eyes brighter. She looked healthy, alive. "I used to think I'd never stop hurting, about my daughter, about everything I lost." "Do you still hurt?" "Every day? But it's different now, like you said, bearable." They sat in comfortable silence. Lily ran over, breathless and grass-stained. "Did you see? I almost did a cartwheel." "Almost counts," Mara said. "Will you try? I want to see if grown-ups can do them." "I definitely can't." "How do you know if you don't try?" Mara looked at Adrian. He grinned. "She's got a point." "I hate you both." But she stood up, tried a cartwheel. Her arms buckled and she landed in a heap, laughing. Lily shrieked with delight and tried to copy her, ending up in an identical heap. Adrian watched them lying in the grass, laughing at nothing and everything, and felt something warm settle in his chest. This was what Elena had wanted for him. Not to forget her, but to live anyway. That night, after Lily was asleep, Adrian made a decision. He pulled out his phone and texted Mara. "Want to go somewhere tomorrow?" "Where?" "It's a surprise. Bring comfortable shoes. I don't like surprises. Trust me." 3 dots. Then, "Fine. But if this is weird, I'm blaming you. Deal." The next morning, Adrian told Rosa they'd be gone for the day. He made sandwiches, packed them in a cooler, and knocked on the guest house door at 9. Mara answered in jeans and a t-shirt he'd bought her months ago that she'd finally stopped pretending she hadn't needed. Where are we going? You'll see. Adrian, just get in the car. They drove for an hour, out of the city and into the hills. Mara watched the landscape change through the window, her expression unreadable. If you're taking me somewhere to murder me, this is a really elaborate plan, she said. That's exactly what I want you to think. She almost smiled. They pulled up to a small park Adrian had found online. Nothing fancy, just trails and trees and a lake that probably had more algae than fish. He parked and got out. Mara followed. A park? Elena and I used to come here, before Lily, before everything got complicated. We'd hike and talk and pretend we had our lives figured out. Why are we here? Because I wanted to show you something. He led her down a trail that wound through the trees. After 20 minutes, they came to a clearing with a view of the lake. The water was perfectly still, reflecting the sky like a mirror. She loved this spot, Adrian said. She'd sit right here and say it was the only place that made sense. Mara stood beside him, looking out at the water. It's beautiful. Yeah. Why did you bring me here? Adrian took a breath. Because I've been thinking about what you asked me, about whether I'll ever stop loving Elena. You don't have to. I won't. Stop loving her, but I've realized something. Love isn't a finite thing. It doesn't run out. Elena's been gone for 2 years and I still love her, but there's room for other things too, other people. Mara went very still. Very fool. I'm not saying this right, Adrian continued. I'm probably screwing this up, but you matter to me. More than I planned, more than I knew how to handle, and I think maybe Elena would understand that. I think she'd want me to be happy, even if happy looks different than it did when she was here. Adrian, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Mara turned to face him. Her eyes were bright. You're an idiot. So I've been told. I'm a mess. I'm broken, and I don't have anything to offer you. I'm not asking you to offer me anything. Then what are you asking? I don't know. To stay. To let me care about you without fighting me on it. To stop pretending this is just Friday dinners and a rental agreement. What is it then? I don't know. Something more. Something real. Mara looked away, blinking fast. I'm scared. Of what? Of screwing this up. Of hurting Lily. Of you waking up one day and realizing I'm not worth the trouble. You are worth it. You've always been worth it. You don't know that. Yes, I do. They stood there in the clearing, the lake stretching out before them, and Mara finally let herself cry. Not the angry tears she'd cried before, but the kind that came from letting go of something she'd been holding too tight for too long. Adrian pulled her into his arms and held her while she shook. When she finally pulled back, her face was red and wet and somehow more beautiful than he'd ever seen it. I don't know how to do this, she said. Neither do I. What if we fail? Then we fail. But at least we tried. She laughed, watery and broken. You make it sound simple. It is simple. We just make it complicated. Yeah, we do. They stayed at the park until the sun started to set, ate the sandwiches Adrian had packed, talked about everything and nothing. Mara told him about the kids in her class, about one little boy who reminded her of what her daughter might have been like. Adrian told her about a deal Vale Industries was working on that bored him to tears but kept the lights on. On the drive home, Mara fell asleep in the passenger seat. Adrian glanced over at her and felt that same warm feeling in his chest. Not the wild, consuming love he'd had with Elena, but something quieter, something that felt like coming home after a long trip. When they pulled up to the house, Mara woke up. Sorry, didn't mean to crash. Don't apologize, you needed it. She unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't get out. Thank you, for today, for showing me that place. You're welcome. And Adrian? Yeah? I want to try this thing, whatever it is. I'm scared, but I want to try. He reached over and took her hand. Okay. Okay? That's all I need. You wanting to try. She squeezed his hand and got out of the car. Adrian watched her walk to the guest house, and when she turned back to wave before going inside, he felt like maybe they were both going to be okay. The next few weeks were strange. They didn't announce anything, didn't make it official. But things shifted. Mara started eating dinner with them every night, started helping Lily with homework without being asked, started looking at Adrian like he was someone worth looking at. Lily noticed immediately. "Are you and Mara dating?" she asked one night at dinner. Adrian nearly choked on his water. Mara went bright red. "What makes you ask that?" Adrian managed. "Because you look at her the way you used to look at Mom in the pictures. All smiley and weird." "I don't look weird." "You totally do." Mara was studying her plate like it held the secrets of the universe. Adrian set his fork down. "Would it bother you if we were?" Lily thought about it. "No, I like Mara, and you've been happy lately, happier than before." "Yeah?" "Yeah. So if Mara makes you happy, that's good." Mara finally looked up. "You're a pretty smart kid." "I know," Lily said matter-of-factly. "So are you dating or not?" Adrian and Mara looked at each other. "Yeah," Adrian said. "I think we are." "Cool. Can I have dessert now?" Just like that. No drama. No complicated emotions. Just acceptance and a request for ice cream. Later, after Lily was in bed, Mara found Adrian in the kitchen. "That went well," she said. "Better than I expected." "She really is smart and kind. You've done a good job with her." "We did a good job. You've been part of her life for months now. I'm just the lady in the guest house who can't do cartwheels." "You're more than that, to both of us." Mara leaned against the counter. "I've been thinking about something." "What?" "About my daughter. About trying to find her." Adrian's heart skipped. "Really? Not to disrupt her life. Not to show up and mess everything up, but just to know she's okay, to maybe send a letter or something. Let her know I exist if she ever wants to find me." "I think that's a good idea." "You do?" "Yeah. I think you deserve to know she's okay, and she deserves to know you never stop thinking about her." Mara's eyes went wet. "I don't even know where to start." "I can help, if you want." "You'd do that?" "Of course I would." She crossed to him and wrapped her arms around his waist, her head against his chest. He held her, feeling her breathe, feeling the weight of everything she'd carried alone starting to shift. "Thank you," she whispered. "Always." They started the search the next week. Adrian hired a private investigator. It took 3 weeks, but they found her. Sarah, living in Portland with her adoptive parents. Happy, by all accounts. Doing well in school, playing soccer, living the life Mara had wanted for her. The investigator provided an address, a way to contact the family if Mara wanted. She stared at the file for an hour, not touching it. "I don't know if I can do this," she said. "You don't have to," Adrian said. "Not if you're not ready. What if they say no? What if they don't want me reaching out?" "Then you'll know you tried. That's all you can do." Mara opened the file, read through the information, looked at the photo the investigator had included, a girl with dark hair and Mara's smile. "She looks happy," Mara said, her voice breaking. "She does." "That's all I wanted, for her to be happy." "Then you gave her that. Even if you never see her again, you gave her that." Mara closed the file. "I'm going to write her a letter, not to send now, but to have. For when she's older, in case she ever wants to know who I was." "That's perfect." She spent days on that letter, writing and rewriting, trying to explain a decision that couldn't be fully explained, trying to apologize and not apologize at the same time, trying to give her daughter permission to hate her and love her and forget about her all at once. When she finally finished, she sealed it in an envelope and gave it to the investigator with instructions to hold it until Sarah turned 18. "Now she has it," Mara said, "if she wants it. And if she doesn't, then at least I tried." Adrian pulled her close. "I'm proud of you." "Don't be. I'm just doing what I should have done years ago." "You're doing what you can do now. That's all any of us can do." September came. Lily started 3rd grade. Mara's job became permanent with benefits and a raise. Adrian sold a division of Vail Industries for an obscene amount of money and realized he didn't care about the money at all. One Friday in late September, Adrian made a suggestion. "Let's go to the diner tonight." Mara looked up from the book she was reading. "Really?" "Yeah, I want to go back, not because I have to, but because I want to." "What changed?" "Everything. Nothing. I just think it's time. They left Lily with Rosa and drove across town. The diner looked exactly the same. Flickering neon, dirty windows, the same bell jingling when they walked in. Britt looked up and her face split into a grin. "Mr. Vale, haven't seen you in forever. Where you been?" "Around, just busy." "And you brought your girlfriend." Britt winked at Mara. "News travels fast," Mara said. "This is a small diner. We know everything." They slid into the old booth. The vinyl was still cracked, the table still wobbly, but something about it felt different, not sacred anymore, just familiar. Britt took their order. "The usual?" Adrian looked at Mara. She looked at him. "Actually," Adrian said, "I'll have the burger, and she'll have whatever she wants." Mara smiled. "I'll have the meatloaf. Coming right up." When Britt left, Adrian reached across the table and took Mara's hand. "This okay?" he asked. "More than okay. I used to sit here and feel like I was drowning, like if I stopped coming, I'd lose her completely. And now I know that's not true. She's not in this booth. She's not in the chicken parmesan. She's in Lily. She's in my memories. She's in the way I learned to be a better person because of her. That doesn't disappear just because I stop coming here every Friday." Mara squeezed his hand. "She'd be proud of you." "I hope so." The food came. They ate and talked and laughed. Lou came out from the kitchen and said it was good to see them. Britt refilled their coffee 3 times, even though they didn't ask. When they were done, Adrian paid the bill and left a tip that was probably too much but felt right. Outside, the city was alive with Friday night energy. People heading to bars and restaurants and movies, living their lives, moving forward. "You okay?" Mara asked. "Yeah, I am." "No regrets?" "About what?" "About changing the ritual. About letting go." Adrian thought about it. "No. I think I was holding on to the ritual because I was afraid if I let go of it, I'd have to face the fact that she's really gone. But I'm ready now, to face it, to live anyway." "What made you ready?" "You, Lily, time, all of it." They walked to the car, hand in hand. On the drive home, Mara said, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "About moving, out of the guest house." Adrian's stomach dropped. "Where would you go?" She looked at him, amused. "I was thinking maybe the main house. If you'd have me. If Lily would be okay with it." Relief flooded through him. "You want to move in? Is that crazy?" "Probably, but in a good way." "You think Lily would mind?" "I think Lily would be thrilled." "And you?" "I'd be thrilled too." They told Lily the next morning over breakfast. She was eating cereal and barely looked up. "Cool. Can Mara have the room next to mine?" "You're okay with this?" Adrian asked. "Yeah, why wouldn't I be?" "I don't know. It's a big change." "Dad, she's already here every day. This just means she won't have to walk across the yard at night. It's not that big a deal." Mara laughed. "You're very practical." "I get it from my mom." Adrian felt his throat tighten, but it was a good tight, the kind that came from being grateful. Mara moved in the following week. Didn't have much to move, just clothes and books and a few things she'd accumulated. She took the room next to Lily's, even though Adrian's room was bigger and down the hall, and implied things neither of them was quite ready to imply yet. "We'll get there," Mara said when he raised an eyebrow. "I'm not pushing." "I know, but I need to do this slow. Make sure it's real." "It's real." "I know, but I need to believe it." So they took it slow. Family dinners and movie nights and homework help. Mara teaching Lily to cook. Adrian teaching Mara to use the espresso machine. Lily teaching them both to play the card game she'd learned at school that made no sense, but she loved anyway. They became a family in the quiet, unremarkable way that families form. Not perfect, not without tension or arguments or bad days, but real. One night in October, Adrian couldn't sleep. He got up and wandered downstairs thinking about making tea or watching something mindless on TV. He found Mara in the den, curled up on the couch with a book. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "Never could." He sat beside her. She set the book down and leaned against him. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing this wrong?" she asked. "Doing what wrong?" "This, us, moving too fast or too slow or just generally screwing everything up.
Every single day. Really? Yeah, but then I look at Lily and she's happy, and I look at you and you're happy, and I'm happy, and I think maybe we're doing it exactly right. What if it falls apart? Then it falls apart. But I'd rather try and fail than never try at all. Mara tilted her head to look at him. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just tired of being scared. Yeah, me too. She kissed him then, soft and tentative and perfect. When they pulled apart, they were both smiling. I love you, Mara said. I didn't mean to, but I do. Adrian's heart felt too big for his chest. I love you too. Even though I'm a mess? Especially because you're a mess. We match. She laughed and kissed him again. They stayed on the couch until the sun started to come up, talking about nothing and everything and all the ways they were going to try not to screw this up. When morning came, Lily found them asleep on the couch, tangled together. She threw a blanket over them and went to make herself breakfast, completely unbothered. November arrived. Thanksgiving came and went. Adrian, Mara, and Lily spent it together with Rosa, eating too much and watching football and playing board games that got way too competitive. One Friday in early December, Adrian had an idea. Let's go to the diner tonight, he said. Again? Mara asked. Yeah, but not just us. Let's bring Lily. Mara looked surprised. You sure? I'm sure. I want her to see it. I want her to understand why it mattered. And why it doesn't anymore? No. Why it still matters. Just differently. They drove to the diner at 6. Lily sat in the back seat, excited because she'd never been there before and everything new was an adventure when you were 8. When they walked in, Britt's face lit up. The whole family! This is new! We thought it was time, Adrian said. They slid into the booth. All 3 of them. Lily in the middle. Britt brought menus, but Adrian waved them away. 3 chicken parmesans, he said, and fries. You got it. Lily looked around the diner with wide eyes. This is where you and Mom used to come? Every Friday. It's kind of old. It is. But I like it. The food came. They ate together. Lily asked a million questions. Adrian answered them all. Mara listened, adding details here and there, making Lily laugh. When they were almost done, Lily said something that stopped Adrian cold. Do you think Mom would like Mara? Adrian looked at his daughter, at her hopeful face and Elena's eyes. Yeah, sweetheart. I think she would. Me too. I think they'd be friends. Why do you think that? Because they both care about you. And me. And they both make things better even when things are hard. Mara's eyes went wet. She reached over and took Lily's hand. Thank you, kiddo. That means a lot. You're welcome. They finished eating. Adrian paid. Left a tip that made Britt's eyes go wide. Outside, the 3 of them stood on the sidewalk. The city was cold and bright with Christmas lights going up. People rushed past, busy with their lives. Can we come back? Lily asked. Yeah, Adrian said. We can come back whenever you want. Good. I like it here. They walked to the car. Lily ran ahead, chasing something only she could see. Mara slipped her hand into Adrian's. You did good, she said. We did good. Yeah, we did. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat. Adrian glanced in the rearview mirror at her, then at Mara in the passenger seat. This was his life now. Not the one he'd planned, not the one he'd expected, but the one he had, the one he'd built from the wreckage of everything he'd lost. And it was good. Not perfect, but good. When they got home, Adrian carried Lily upstairs. Mara followed. They tucked her in together, working in the quiet synchronization of people who'd done this 100 times before. Downstairs, they stood in the kitchen, not ready to go to bed, not ready for the day to end. I've been thinking, Adrian said. About what? About Elena. About the promise I made her. The diner? Yeah. I kept that promise for 2 years. Sat in that booth every Friday like she was still there. Like if I just kept showing up, she wouldn't really be gone. And now? Now I realize the promise wasn't about the diner. It was about not giving up, not letting grief win, not forgetting how to live. Mara nodded. I think you kept that promise, just not the way you thought you would. No, not the way I thought. Is that okay? Yeah, I think it is. I think Elena would understand. I think she'd want this. For me to be happy. For Lily to have a family again, even if it looks different than before. Mara moved closer. You're a good man, Adrian Vale. I'm trying. That's all any of us can do.
She kissed him. He kissed her back. And in that moment, standing in his too-big kitchen with the woman who'd stumbled into his life on a rainy Friday night, Adrian felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of something stronger. Hope. Love. The belief that life could still be good even after it had been unbearably hard. They went to bed in separate rooms that night, but Adrian knew it wouldn't always be that way. They were taking their time, building something real, something that could last. In the morning, he woke to the smell of pancakes, went downstairs to find Mara and Lily in the kitchen, flour everywhere, laughing about something.
Morning, Mara said. Morning. What's all this? Lily wanted to make breakfast. I'm supervising. She's really bad at it, Lily added cheerfully. Hey, I'm doing my best. Adrian poured himself coffee and watched them work. Two people who'd come into his life when he'd needed them most. Two people who'd reminded him that endings weren't the only story, that sometimes there were beginnings too. He thought about Elena, about the life they'd had, about the promise he'd made and the promise he'd kept, just not the way he'd expected. And he knew somehow that she'd approve, that she'd look at this messy, imperfect, beautiful life he was building and she'd smile. Because that's what love did. It didn't trap you in the past. It set you free to move forward. And Adrian was finally ready to move forward, not away from Elena, but toward something new, something that honored what he'd lost while making room for what he'd found. That afternoon, he took down the picture of Elena from the mantel, not to erase her, but to make space. He hung it in Lily's room instead, where she could see it every day, where Elena could watch over her daughter the way she'd always wanted to. In its place, he hung a new picture. Him, Mara, and Lily. Taken last week in the backyard, all of them laughing at something ridiculous, all of them happy. Mara found him staring at it. You sure about that? She asked. Yeah, I'm sure. It doesn't feel like you're forgetting her? No. It feels like I'm remembering what she taught me. That life goes on. That love grows. That there's always room for more. Mara leaned against him. You're going to make me cry. Good. You're pretty when you cry. Shut up. They stood there looking at the picture, at the evidence of everything they'd survived and everything they'd built. And Adrian knew that this was it. This was the life he was meant to live, not in spite of everything he'd lost, but because of it. Because loss taught you what mattered, and what mattered was this: connection, family, love in all its messy, imperfect forms. The diner still stood on 5th and Maple. The neon still flickered. The coffee still tasted like regret. But Adrian didn't need it anymore. Not the way he used to. He'd go back sometimes. With Mara. With Lily. Maybe even with Rosa if she wanted to come. They'd order chicken, parmesan, and fries and terrible coffee. They'd talk and laugh and make new memories in the place where old ones used to live. But it wouldn't be a ritual anymore. It would just be dinner with people he loved in a place that reminded him he'd survived. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.